In the dusty, forgotten streets of Huayin, China history nearly overlooked the man who would one day shatter empires. Long before he was a legend, Han Xin was a ghost, a starving orphan with nothing but a rusted bronze sword and a mind filled with forbidden strategies. To his neighbors, he was a useless dreamer, a beggar with no future. But within this pauper lived a genius that would one day command 300,000 men to redraw the map of the world. Before we witness the impossible victories that earned him the title the God of War, we must look at the moment that defined his soul. It is a moment preserved in the most profound Chinese general's quotes. To achieve greatness, one must first endure what the common man cannot. Why did this future king choose to crawl through the legs of a lowly butcher instead of drawing his sword? Was it cowardice or a level of panis, strategic patience that terrified his enemies? Welcome to 81 Chinese Generals. Subscribe now and let us witness the rise of Han Xin, the unrivaled master of China history, whose path to glory was paved with the most bitter humiliations. One afternoon, a local butcher blocked Han Xin's path. "If you are brave, kill me," the butcher sneered. "If you are a coward, crawl between my legs." The crowd gathered laughing at the dreamer who claimed to study war. Han Xin faced a choice that would destroy most men's pride. To draw his sword would mean a meaningless death or life as a criminal. He chose to crawl. As he moved through the dirt, the laughter followed him like a plague. But Han Xin felt no shame. He understood a lesson that every leader in business and life must learn. Never waste your life on a battle that doesn't lead to the throne. This act of strategic humility is a cornerstone of Chinese generals' quotes. He traded a moment of ego for a lifetime of destiny. He knew that the butcher was a fly, and he was a dragon, and a dragon does not burn his wings to kill a fly. This humble moment in China history was the birth of a legend. He was now ready to leave the mud and seek a master worthy of his genius. Han Xin first sought glory under the banners of the Chu Empire led by the legendary Xiang Yu. But the hegemon king was a man of brute force who saw only a lowly soldier in Han Xin, appointing him as a mere guard. Xiang Yu ignored the brilliance that lay behind Han Xin's stoic gaze. Frustrated by a master who would not listen, Han Xin performed the most daring career move in China history. He abandoned the powerful Chu and fled to the struggling Han army under Liu Bang. But even their recognition was a ghost. Liu Bang saw nothing in him but a clerk. It was only one man, the Prime Minister Xiao, he who looked at Han Xin and saw a god of war waiting to be unleashed. Xiao He recognized the wisdom in Han Xin's Chinese general's quotes regarding the Han Trung strategy. However, when Liu Bang still refused to promote him, Han Xin decided to vanish once more into the night. He believed that a genius without a platform is just a beggar with a dream. This moment of transition is a masterclass for the modern world. If your current empire does not value your worth, you must have the courage to walk into the unknown. But Xiao, he was not about to let the greatest weapon in China history slip through his fingers. In the dead of night, Xiao He performed an act that would change China history forever. Without telling the king, he grabbed his horse and galloped after the man who had just quit. This event, known as Xiao He pursues Han Xin under the moonlight, is a testament to the power of networking and talent scouting. When the king heard his prime minister had vanished, he panicked. But Xiao He wasn't deserting. He was hunting for the soul of the Han dynasty. When he finally caught up to Han Xin by a river, he begged him to return, promising that this time things would be different. Xiao He told Liu Bang, "If you only want to be a king, you don't need Han Xin. But if you want to rule the world, he is the only man who can take you there." This led to one of the most magnificent ceremonies in China history. Liu Bang built a grand altar, and in front of the entire army, appointed the beggar of Huayin as the supreme commander. From that day on, the Chinese general's quotes of Han Xin became the law of the land. The ghost had finally found his sword, and the world was about to tremble. Han Xin's first move was a masterstroke of psychological warfare known as openly repairing the wooden pass while secretly crossing through Chengkang. He fooled the enemy into thinking he was taking a slow, broken route, while he led his army through a dangerous hidden mountain path. In just 4 months, he conquered the region that had taken others years to settle. This is the essence of Chinese generals' quotes regarding innovation. If the front door is locked, build a path through the clouds. Han Xin didn't just fight. He played with the enemy's perception of reality. He taught the world that the most direct path to victory is often the one the enemy deems impossible. In business, this is the blue ocean strategy, finding the market that no one else is looking at. As his fame grew, so did the fear of his enemies. They realized that they weren't fighting a man, but a force of nature. Every battle was a new chapter in the textbook of China history. But his greatest challenge was yet to come, a battle where he would deliberately trap his own men in the face of death to force a miracle. In the year 204, before the Common Era, Han Xin faced a force of 200,000 Zhao soldiers with only 30,000 of his own. The odds were suicide, but Han Xin performed a maneuver that violated every rule of traditional Chinese generals' quotes. He lined his troops up with their backs against the river Tao. If they retreated, they would drown. If they stood, they had to fight a force nearly 7 times their size. The Zhao generals laughed, calling him a fool. But Han Xin knew the human heart better than anyone. He understood that when a man has no way out, he becomes a demon. Put them on the ground of death, and they shall live. He famously said one of the most immortal Chinese generals' quotes ever recorded. His men, fueled by the sheer terror of drowning, fought with a ferocity that shattered the Zhao lines. While the enemy was distracted, Han Xin's hidden cavalry seized their camp and replaced their banners. In a single afternoon, the impossible was achieved. This is a lesson for every entrepreneur. Sometimes the only way to succeed is to burn the boats and leave yourself no option but to win. Han Xin's genius was not limited to land. At the Wei River, he faced the massive army of Long Zhu, a giant of the Chu Empire. Instead of a direct clash, Han Xin ordered his men to fill 10,000 silk bags with sand and dam the upper part of the river. He then led a small force to attack and quickly retreated across the shallow water. Long Zhu, thinking the god of war was finally fleeing in fear, led his entire cavalry into the riverbed to give chase. It was a fatal ego. Han Xin gave the signal, and the dam was broken. A wall of water crashed down, drowning half the Chu army in seconds. The rest were trapped and slaughtered on the banks. This victory is a masterclass in China history for using your environment as a weapon. In the world of modern leadership, this is the leverage principle, using a small amount of force at the right time to create a massive impact. Han Xin taught us that a general who doesn't study the weather and the earth is just a butcher with a sword. He was now the undisputed king of the north, and the final showdown with his former master Xiang Yu was inevitable. The climax of the Chu-Han War arrived at Kai Hat. Han Xin now commanded 300,000 men facing his former master Xiang Yu. He didn't just want to win. He wanted to break the hegemon king's soul. He used a strategy called the 10-sided ambush, a complex layer of traps that slowly squeezed the Chu army into a tiny pocket. To finish them, Han Xin performed the most famous psychological operation in China history. In the middle of the night, he ordered his men to sing the folk songs of the Chu homeland. When Xiang Yu's starving soldiers heard the music, they wept, believing their families had already surrendered. "Has the Han already conquered Chu?" they cried. This is the origin of the phrase "songs of Chu on 4 sides," a warning in many Chinese generals' quotes about the power of morale. Xiang Yu, the man who could defeat 1,000 enemies alone, was broken by a song. He fled to the Wu River and took his own life. Han Xin had won. He had built an empire for Liu Bang, but in the shadow of this triumph, a dark truth was brewing. When the birds are gone, the bow is put away. The war was over, But a new battle began, the Battle of the Palace. Liu Bang, now the first emperor of Han, looked at Han Xin and didn't see a hero. He saw a threat. Han Xin was too famous, too brilliant, and too loved by the soldiers. In a famous conversation, the emperor asked, "How many men can I lead?" Han Xin replied, "Perhaps 100,000. The emperor asked, "And you?" Han Xin smiled, "The more the better." This moment of honesty was a fatal mistake. It proved the wisdom in Chinese generals' quotes about power and paranoia. Liu Bang used a fake hunting trip to capture Han Xin, stripping him of his kingdom and demoting him to a mere marquis. Han Xin was trapped in the capital, a golden cage, where he spent his days writing The Art of War with Xiao He. He realized too late that he had mastered the battlefield, but failed the game of politics. In business, this is the founder's dilemma. The very skills that build a company can often lead to your removal once the company is stable. The god of war was now a prisoner of the peace he had created. The final betrayal was the most painful. Xiao He, the man who had discovered Han Xin, was the one who lured him to his death. Under the orders of Empress Lu Xiao, he convinced Han Xin to enter the palace for a celebration. As soon as he stepped inside, the god of war was seized. He was taken to a dark room, some say a bell tower, where he was executed to avoid spilling his blood on royal soil. His last words were a bitter scream. "I regret not listening to the advice to split the empire." Han Xin's death is a scar on China history. He died not as a traitor, but as a victim of his own loyalty. His story gives us the ultimate triathlete. When the rabbits are killed, the hunting dogs are cooked. He built a dynasty that lasted 400 years, but he didn't live to see its glory. Thank you for watching 81 Chinese Generals. Han Xin chose loyalty over rebellion. Was it a virtue or a fatal flaw? Comment 1 if he was the ultimate hero, or 0 if he was too naive. Who should we cover next? The legends of the East are waiting. I am Silas, and I'll see you in the next chapter of China history.